Hey guys doing? James here. Well, this is gonna be kind of controversial, and if you're a white female or male, don't take offense what I'm about to show you on this video. But this goes back to the history of another form of interracial relationship, but it was not on a loving matter. So, and I'm going to show you this video and I'll get back to you with my comments. But it's really interesting.
Humanity's potential for cruelty and oppression is painfully illustrated through the history of slavery. Forced labor, corporal punishment, and other forms of degrading treatment were commonplace for enslaved Africans and their descendants in the United States, from the colonial era through the antebellum period. In Tody's video, we will dive in on the history of black male slaves' exploitation and suffering, which has been mostly ignored. This story will open your eyes to the power dynamics inherent in the sexual interactions between white women of the planter class and black males of the slave class. The white women who participated in these relationships used sex as a tool of power to uphold white supremacy and patriarchy throughout this bleak period. Before we get into the meat of today's episode, we'd appreciate it if you'd press the like button, subscribe, and share to continue spreading these enlightening topics. Women who were second in command only to their husbands ran the plantations during this time. On the plantation, they oversaw the work of every slave. They were very powerful, and they utilized it to their advantage by abusing their slaves. Exploitation of slave sexuality was an accepted practice, and slaves' private parts were often utilized to satisfy the passion of plantation masters. Slaves, especially women, would be beaten for the smallest infractions and made to stand in the hot sun for hours at a time. Harriet Jacobs, the author of Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl, was a former slave who experienced life on the plantations and wrote about her experiences in her autobiography. The slave girl is brought up in an unsafe and sexually permissive environment. Her education comes from the gnashing of her master's teeth and the vile babble of his sons. The owner, his sons, the overseer, or possibly all of them, begin to bribe her with cheap gifts when she is 14 or 15. If those don't work, they whip her and starve her to submission if necessary. The white planter wives were secretly unhappy with their lives, even though they were expected to keep a positive attitude and obey their husbands, while their husbands had many affairs with black slaves. Being forced into the role of a submissive wife was a huge blow to their egos, and they hated themselves for accepting it. When their husbands went away on business trips, the wives became extremely bored and looked to the male slaves for companionship and to fulfill their carnal needs. Housewives typically marry young, about 15 or 16, and spend their lives feeling isolated and unhappy within their homes. Mistresses and slaves had affairs considerably less frequently than their husbands and female slaves. It's not that white mistresses and black slaves didn't have romantic connections. They did, but the details were largely unknown. Women repressed their desires until their husbands' frequent trips led them to this entanglement. They were miserable and alone, and they needed someone to fulfill their deepest wishes. Like their spouses, they indulged in sexual activity outside of their marriages. Having children of mixed race was one of the major risks associated with white planters' wives getting intimate with black slaves. Methods of birth control did exist at that time. However, they were not widely used. To avoid having children, people used condoms made from oiled silk and rubber and other forms of birth control. Her account shows that abusive, intimate exploitation of black slaves was common. Some mistresses decided to exploit their slaves in this way out of boredom, while others did so because they were fed up with their husband's domineering personality. So they did with slaves what they could not do anywhere else. Because they lacked authority in other areas, they rationalized their pursuit of low passions as a means of making up for their shortcomings. An intersectional analysis helps us understand how people can hold low status in one social arena while holding high status in another. This draws our attention to the ways in which multiple and sometimes conflicting sources of oppression and power are intertwined. It was common for mistresses to coerce their black slaves into sexual activity. Captain Richard Hinton said, "I have never found a black slave whose confidence I have won, who has not told me of instances where he has been compelled, either by his mistress or by white women of the same class, to have a carnal knowledge of them." Harriet Jacobs also discussed the mistress's use of the black slave's vulnerability for sexual gain. They are aware that their father has absolute control over the slave woman and, in some situations, even the male slaves under their care. I'd personally witnessed the household's patriarch hiding his face in shame because his daughter had chosen the most vicious slave on the estate to father her first offspring. She didn't try to woo anyone who was on par with her, not even the smarter servant at her father's field. She picked the most beaten down among them so that she could exert her power with the least risk of being discovered.
My name is Princess Scarlet Jojo Crazy Girl. You can just call me Princess. Life definitely has its ups and downs.
Of being discovered. Women at home were responsible for upholding Christian principles and keeping the peace in the household. Virtuous and capable in their motherly roles, they were highly prized for their contributions to the upkeep of the estate. The dominant patriarchal culture and the law strictly controlled the mistresses' sexual lives. The consequences for adulterous females were harsher than those for adulterous males. Having children outside of marriage was seen as a major flaw among white planters' women, but not among black women. Hence, housewives were often subjected to harsh criticism. White planter women, especially upper-class white women, were seen as having superior morals and were assumed to be chaste in all areas of their lives, including the bedroom. They were expected to behave in a low-key and reserved manner while tendering to their husband. As widely rumored and confirmed by Jacobs, there was not a shred of white women's chastity, and girls on the plantations had completely different attitudes and appearances. Go to a southern plantation and pretend you're a Negro merchant if you still have any doubts about the evils of slavery. Nothing can be hidden from you then, and you may experience things you never thought conceivable among humans with eternal souls. The narrative of the chastity of white women and their superiority over black women, who were stereotyped as engaging in lustful behavior, was used to legitimize the exploitation of the intimacy of dark-skinned slaves. Because upper-class women saw themselves as superior to black women, they justified giving in to their own sexual desires in this way. The dominant culture and the frequent absence of their husbands made it difficult for them to fulfill their sexual needs. An affair with a black male slave was considered a huge disgrace to her and her family. There were cases where some mistresses were pregnant and afterwards went to considerable lengths to hide it. Such scandals that required social condemnation or public humiliation were extremely unusual, but occasionally unavoidable. Charles Ball, who had an affair with the daughter of a wealthy planter, revealed in his autobiography that some children of mixed race were born because of the love of mistresses and slaves. After giving birth, the girl's father imprisoned her and forbade her from breastfeeding. She was demoted from her position of social prominence, and her child was sold into slavery, all to prevent scandal. Sadly, infanticide was necessary to prevent further enslavement of children. After allowing their spouses to treat them slightly better than slaves, they became understandably resentful of the treatment they had received. They had very few personal freedoms and were required to always travel with a male chaperone. Female subjugation was explicitly written into the colony's legislation from the beginning, as detailed in the Low Country slave codes. A law passed in South Carolina in 1701 stated that slaves who escaped their master, mistress, or owner would be castrated if they attempted to escape again, and a law passed in 1740 warned owners that they would be held legally responsible for the well-being of their slaves if they did not provide them with adequate clothing, covering, or food. Slave owners in Georgia risked hefty fines if they employed slaves without the proper documentation. Other clauses describing the civic duties of slaveholders, such as providing members for the colonial military and sending slaves to construct public works, also included wording that was inclusive of women slave owners. Due to the insecurity of colonial life, many male breadwinners died at a young age, and as a result, some women acquired remarkable economic independence through their ownership of slaves. These women were able to achieve economic independence by running huge plantations on their own, and by freely buying, selling, bequeathing, and hiring slaves, which allowed them to assume leadership roles in their communities. Knowing that the Southern patriarchy was antagonistic to women's independence, these slave-holding single women safeguarded their privilege by perpetuating the same racist structures that gave rise to slavery in the South. Even though wives' persons, slaves, and possessions, enslaved or otherwise, technically belonged to their husbands, the reality was more convoluted since wealthy ladies often entered marriage with slaves provided to them by their parents. Former slave Silas Glenn recalled that his mistress was kind to the slaves who had come to her through her father, but cruel to those who had come through her husband. Many wives of slaveholders rejected their husbands' efforts to control, discipline, or sell their slaves. When it came to their marriages, white women who had been raised to command slaves felt confident expressing the autonomy that came with their newfound awareness of themselves as slaveholders. Some were shrewd businesswomen, true market mistresses. Mrs. Annie Poor, for example, sold slaves for high prices after teaching them to cook and build. Contrary to popular opinion, these women did not just study slave prices and profit from market swings. They either attended auctions themselves or recruited male representatives to do so. Slave-holding women, whether single or married, obtained economic power and autonomy under an oppressive patriarchal society by owning and oppressing slaves, whom they viewed primarily as property. Some white women also engaged in sexual misconduct with slave men. Thomas Belsersky argues that the same factors that encouraged violence against white women also encouraged it against enslaved men, including access to enslaved bodies and the use of sex to preserve racial and social power structures. He points out that contemporary observers remarked casually on this, using Harriet Jacobs as an example. Jacobs believes that some mistresses learned to wield control after witnessing the submission of female slaves to their father's authority in all matters. Jacobs recalls a woman who, in order to exert maximum control over her slave and avoid being caught, picked the most brutalized slave on her estate as her companion. Although this type of connection was rare, it exemplifies how white women internalized and often enacted the social hierarchies of race, sex, and power. The statement, "sexualized abuse did not always involve rape," is accurate. Morgan notes that in the South, where some slaves were required to wear only the barest minimum of clothing, even routine interactions took on an oddly sexual overtone. The exposure of black male bodies in the presence of upper-class white women shocked Northern observers like William Harding. Harding said he saw enslaved men wearing only a loose shirt, descending halfway down their thighs, waiting on ladies who did not appear to be embarrassed by the sight. Mistresses also violated their slaves' privacy by beating them while they were naked or by demanding massages or other private ministrations. It appears that some white women, like their male counterparts, were aware of and exploited social preconceptions linking blackness with sexual aggression in order to ensure their silence after the fact. Collectively, these incidents show how white women acquired transgressive power by dominating and violating the bodies of slaves in a system that denied them sexual agency. Exploring how white women abused black male slaves sheds light on a disturbing aspect of history that has been mostly ignored or covered up. Facing this truth head-on forces us to question accepted explanations for slavery and helps us grasp the nuanced power dynamics at play. Recognizing these wrongs done in the past is crucial to creating a more equitable and inclusive future. Leave your thoughts in the comments and stay tuned for more in-depth historical events. Please show your support by liking and subscribing. Also share to spread the word to people around you. Our story must not be forgotten. Thanks for watching. We'll see you all in our next video. Ooh.
Oh boy, so yeah, that was really interesting about that type of relationship. So that's why in America it's such a taboo between black people and white people. That's the truth. Because so when they see on both sides, they see that that's just such a taboo, black and white, So even though we know that not every relationship was based, especially interracial relations was based on slavery, but it pretty much explains itself right there. But what can you say? It's there. That's kind of a shocker when I saw that one. Wow. But I wanted to show you something else. And you think that was something. I don't know if I played this video. I probably did on another channel a while ago. But this woman, if I can find it, asked the question.
You know investing in your future is the right strategy. But where do you start? The stock market is volatile, and the choices are overwhelming. Big banks and...
So this one sister's going to ask a common question that a lot of black people have asked about, the white supremacists. And, as black people, we try to live our lives and do what, we do to make it. But yet, all the time, no matter what we're discussing among ourselves, no matter what the issue may be, we're not including nobody else in that conversation, the white supremacists always show up and try to include themselves in it. Let's go ahead and roll that clip.
Why can't white people just leave black people alone? People watch my videos on social media talking about anti-racism, talking about reparations, and they can't control themselves. They have to comment and tell me, I disagree. I don't agree with what you're saying. That's ridiculous. That's stupid. And my response before I block them is, I didn't ask. I didn't ask you. I didn't ask if you agree. I didn't ask for your feedback. I didn't ask for your comment. I didn't ask you anything. Just leave me alone. Block me. So I don't have to block you. I think about an innocent young black boy ringing the wrong doorbell. Has anyone ever rung your doorbell and you weren't expecting them? What do? Did you shoot them twice? Or did you just ignore them? Did you just tell them, go away? Or just not answer the door? It's like, y'all can't just leave us alone. I think about history and how white people wanted segregation. So you got segregation. And then as black communities began to thrive, you got angry and you came and destroyed our communities. Like, just leave us alone. Why is that so hard for you? It's because you have that overseer gene in you. You have that overseer lineage from slavery, from colonialism and imperialism, and you just can't leave us alone. You think you own us. You think you have to control us all the time because you're entitled to that. And you're not. You're like a toxic, manipulative boss. And you just don't even see within yourself, which makes it even worse. Leave us alone. And before you come and tell me, not all white people, if it doesn't apply, let it fly. If it doesn't apply to you, then I'm not talking to you. Got it?
I feel that sister's frustration because, I used to think like that as well. Why don't they just leave us alone? They don't like us, fine. No problem. We good with it. I'm great with it. Just leave us alone. But what I've learned is they can't help themselves.
I think about history and how white people wanted segregation. So you got segregation. And then as black communities began to thrive, you got angry and you came and destroyed our communities. Like, just leave us alone. Why is that so hard for you? It's because you have that overseer gene in you. You have that overseer lineage from slavery, from colonialism and imperialism, and you just can't leave us alone. You think you own us.
They do not bother any other group like they bother black people. They don't get into Asian people's business. They don't seek to get into Arab people's business. They don't seek to get involved in Native American people's business, Hispanic people. They don't seek to get in nobody else's business but ours, if you notice that. Because they feel like they have a sick, connection with us, and that's why they won't stay away. no matter what we do, we can say, okay, fine, you don't like us, we're going to go over here. Mind our business. Stay away from you. You know what they turn around and say to you? Well, you guys just want segregation. We ended segregation because you guys said it was wrong and now you want it back. This is what they'll say to you. Now, we know that when they're proving they don't like us, they're proving it on a collective sense. I'm not talking about individuals, I'm talking about a collective. It's some individuals who are good people. But on a collective, they have shown for hundreds of years, they don't like black folk. So when black folk want to get to ourselves and have to heal, in order for us to heal, we have to have a time away from you, right? We can't have that time to heal because you coming in the mix of our discussions of healing.
You think you have to control us all the time because you're entitled to that, and you're not. You're like a toxic, manipulative boss, and you just don't even see it within yourself, which makes it even worse. Leave us alone. And before you come and tell me, not all white people, if it doesn't apply, let it fly. If it doesn't apply to you, then I'm not talking to you.
That's why I've told you, just before I've learned personally, you cannot heal while in Babylon. You can't. You have to get out of Babylon to heal. Whether it's like going to a Caribbean island where it's black and you can heal there, the continent of Africa, somewhere where they're not in control, they're not the majority, is the only way you can heal. Because she's right. We don't ask their opinion about reparations. We don't ask their opinion about what happens with the police. We don't ask their opinion about anything. Why would we ask the opinion of the group that represents the perpetrator? Why would we do that? That would be silly. And that's why you wouldn't get anywhere. I'm not trying to have no conversation. I'm not trying to have no debate. I'm not trying to do anything like that. Because that's a waste of time anyway. If you're not coming to change something, if you're not coming with a bag, then just leave, just stay away. That's how I look at it. Let us deal with our own issues and problems as black people.
And think about it, an innocent young black boy ringing the wrong doorbell. Has anyone ever rung your doorbell and you weren't expecting them? What do? Did you shoot them twice? Or did you just ignore them? Did you just tell them, go away? Or just not answer the door? It's like, y'all can't just leave us alone.
But this sister, she's coming into that realization, I see, is that no matter what we talk about, they come in the mix. We don't ask them. I remember when everybody was talking about banking black, how they came to that conversation. Well, you guys don't think that's racist saying you don't want to bank with black banks? Nobody asked you that question. Nobody asked you. Nobody asked you if you thought reparations was good. Nobody asked you anything like that. Just like when people be asking them questions, well, the majority of them don't agree with reparations, and the majority of them didn't agree with black people getting off the plantation either. And the majority of them didn't agree with black people getting out of Jim Crow. They didn't agree with that either. When did we start listening to them about our freedom? Please. If we say we need our freedom, we got to go get that. It's just that simple. You don't look at them and see what they think about it. Once again, the perpetrator don't get to have no determination on what the victim view as freedom and justice. Let me know what y'all think about what our sister's talking about here, because she's spot on. And I know many of you have felt that way. They say we having conversations, mind our business, and here they come interjecting in it. We don't care if you disagree. We don't care if you halfway agree. Just if you want to do anything, just pass up. Be supportive. That's it. If you can't be supportive, then just go do you.
Jennifer, I'm gonna go ahead and play this other video on through. I'm looking for this other video.
Shout out to black men. Hey, when I saw a bunch of Keisha saying don't believe all black women, don't stand on the side of wrong just for the sisterhood, they was talking about a couple. And when I started seeing a lot of these, Keisha saying things like this, I said, yeah, this guy gotta be a Brad. Because if it was a black man, they'll be like, yeah, but they totally believe her. She, most likely she's the one that's been being abused and he's abusive. I saw all that and I was like, yeah, this must be a Brad. And lo and behold, I go look it up. This is a Brad, and y'all got to start giving me my props, man. I've been saying this for the longest. Haven't I been saying this? Hey, listen, they'll act friendly, feminine for Brad more than they ever would for black men. They would do that for Brad, right? But in the end, Brad gets the same Keisha that black men get. In the end, Brad gets the same Keisha, right? So this is a Brad by the name of Jamie Perkins. These names, man. Jamie Perkins, Dusty Perkins. And her name is Nikki Thot. Yeah, Thot. Nikki Thot, right? I don't know why he thought. You know how they always say the universe is telling them something? All that weird. It's the universe speaking. Well, I don't know. Maybe the universe was telling Brad, hey, listen, her name is Thot, man. Her last name is Thot. What's going on with you? Anyway, watch this. I want you to see. She show up to his house. His house. Now watch what she does.
Leave the house, Nikki. Please leave the house. Please leave the house.
Knocks the phone out his hand. Knocks the phone out his hand, right? She came for confrontation with the baby in her arm. Came for confrontation with the baby in her arm. Look at this. Let's go.
Leave the house. Violet, you've got the kids in your hands. Leave the house right now.
Exactly what he wanted.
Leave the house right now.
This is exactly what
Leave the house.
And look, he's getting video
Leave the
evidence.
house.
He's been planning this.
Leave the house. Leave the house.
From day one.
Leave the house. Leave the house. The children don't deserve to see this. Leave the house.
You guys will never see my kids again. You guys will never see my kids again.
See that? You guys would never see my kids again. What did I tell you? In the end, Brad gets the same Keisha that black men get. In the end, it's the same Keisha. The same. The same. The same. Right? And this is what he said. He said, the day Nikki came to the house and attacked me in front of my mom, right? Mom. These overseas Brads, man. And attacked me in front of my mom and refused to leave for 3 hours. Nikki had just been on top of me, punching me because I had told her that I wouldn't speak to her until we could have a calm conversation. Our counselor had told me we needed to take a 2-week break from talking until things calmed down. Nikki was furious. I was asking for 2 weeks space from talking to her about anything other than the kids and showed up at the house demanding I talk to her, which I refused. My mom had taken a child to the kitchen, get her a snack to try and distract her. Nikki can be seen literally snatching her out of my mom's arms. Nikki was also accusing me of being the reason she was acting violent and that I somehow wanted this and that I also wanted a reason to leave her. First of all, she's having a meltdown. She's having a meltdown. She's having a meltdown because these are Brad worshipers, right? These are Brad worshipers, and what she's seeing is Brad leaving. And when Brad leaves, Brad is a trophy to them. Brad is everything to them. More important than water and air, right? But the thing is, no matter how much of a Brad worshiper she is, and they are, right? Their attitude, their way of doing things is always going to surface. It's always going to surface. Being violent is who they are, right? Being violent is who they are. See, most Brads are not checking for Keisha, but the ones that end up with Keisha, they always regret it. They always regret it. Always. They always regret it. And you know what they start saying? They start looking at us and start saying, you know, oh, we understand what you're saying. Man, beat it, Brad. We don't care what you... We understand what's going on. Black men understand what's going on. You still got a lot of simps out there that's that don't learn, but most black men, right? Most black men are starting to catch on. Even the ones that are in relationship with these Keishas, even the ones that are married to them are starting to catch on. Starting to catch on. And the thing is, right, you know, these Keishas never learn. They never learn. They never learn being a Brad worshiper. Listen here, Keisha. You will go anywhere in any relationship, and men understand. Men of all races understand that all you want to do is destroy. Some of them only learn when they get in the relationship with you. Well, the ones who already know about you, and they know about you by how the way you talk to us, how the way you deal with us, they avoid you. But that's another thing, the reason why a lot of black women, right, that get into these relationships, they don't want to leave these brads, even though they're being destructive, is because they're not sure if they can get another one. This was their whole purpose in life. As an adult, they don't know if they can get another one after that, and what they would have to do. Here you are showing up to this man's house, right? This Brad's house, right? And you showing exactly how you really are. This is how they really are. This is them. That's why when we see this with Brad, we don't feel sorry for Brad. We laugh at Brad. Like, told you. Like, not like we told you, but you've seen us go through stuff, and you still did it. You still thought it was. You know why this Brad did it? And let me tell you why. You win, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Let me tell you why. These Brads know that these Keishas worship them. These Brads know that they can make these videos. And I heard they got a whole channel and all that. They make videos, right? These swirling videos, right? And then they get a whole bunch of Keishas, worshiping them. You know, they get a whole lot of traffic because these Keishas want to be in her shoes. They want to be with a Brad. So they watch these channels and they see that the pandering going on, just like the other channel I told y'all about, what, Kings or Queens, whatever. They watch these channels and they start fantasizing about being in these same type of relationships, and they get a lot of subscribers. Brad knows he can pander to this audience. He knows he can pander to it. He knows, right? And since he knows that, he does it. The thing is, he don't know what he's trading for that. Yeah, this is what you traded for that, Brad. Now you're talking about you going through, a mental meltdown, anxiety. He made a whole video. I don't know. Should I do a live on that? I'll let y'all tell me. But he got a whole video up, right, explaining what he was going through. It's over an hour long. It's over an hour long. This is what you get, Brad. This is what you get. You thought it was sweet. That's what it was. You thought it was sweet. And now she's telling you never see the kids again. Who do they usually tell that to? Who they tell that to? Who they tell that to? Black men? Who else uses a child as, who else do they use a child as a pawn to? Right, us. Yeah, Brad, you got the same type of Keisha. You got the same type of Keisha. And they all have a high mind, whether they from over here or, that's why I tell you there's no difference between, Keisha and their Brad worship and their attitude and the way of doing things. Whether it's over here in North America or the UK, the Caribbean, they're the same. They're the same. And you're going to get the same type of attitude, the same type of treatment, the same type of, degenerate acts. You're going to get the same type of Keisha. You're going to get them. That's it. I've been saying this, but look how these Keishas are just bad for Brad. Though. Look how they saying, yeah, maybe she's the wrong one and all that. See, black men don't get that. You're guilty automatically. You're called all kinds of names. But when Brad is making a video talking about them, even when he's talking about them, their image, because that's what he's talking about, they still side with him. And you going to tell me that you're willing to sit at the table with these Keishas? That's why my last video I said, well, why would y'all want to sit at the table with them? Because these are Keishas from all over. These are Keishas from the North America. These are Keishas literally from these states commenting on that, giving him all types of leeway, saying she's wrong. Yet, if it was a black man, it'd be the other way around. So, why would you, as a black man, right, sit down at the table and make a deal with them? For what? For what? But anyway, besides that, this is the same Keisha that Brad get. I wanted to show y'all this. This is another L. This is another L for you, Keisha. Jeez. I'm telling you, 2023 is looking bad for them. 2023. Oh, let's play this real quick. Let's see what she said.
Okay. Here's the video from it.
Let's discuss a few things about white girls that every black man should know. Now, there are a lot of black men out here who advocate, don't date black women, don't date black women, date white girls, blah, 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 blah. And a lot of black men sort of do other black men a disservice. And that disservice is they characterize dating white girls as it being just all peaches and cream. It's the land of milk and honey, right? It's dating white girls, it's all upside. Au contraire. There are many, 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 many downsides to dating white girls. And I think I've done an episode regarding that. I think I called it the downsides of dating white girls or the disadvantages of pursuing white girls, something like that. Anyway, what I'm going to talk about now are a few things about the mentality of white females within the context of a sexual relationship with a black man that black men need to know and understand. Okay? Again, listen, there are advantages to dating white girls, to be sure. Okay? But like every good thing in life, there is a price to be paid. If you want an elite physique, the price to be paid is diet and exercise. If you want to be rich, the price that you pay, you got to work hard. You got to put in 80 hours a week. You want to be an entrepreneur? Guess what? The 40-hour work week is over. For females, if you want a high-value men, the price to be paid is don't get fat, don't be a... Those are... Unfortunately, those things have become nearly impossible for females to sort of stick with these days. But anyway, part of the price to be paid for dating white girls is that they are, of course, white girls. And there are a few things that you need to understand about dating white girls that you need to get through your head. And this stuff ain't changing, guys. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've actually got 6. Okay? Number 1, the first thing that black men need to be well aware of regarding white girls is white girls are naive about the struggle. Gentlemen, white girls, and this isn't their fault, right? Because they're white girls. White girls are positively clueless about the things that black men go through on a daily basis. They have no idea what it's like to see a cop in the rearview mirror and have your heart rate elevate, have your blood pressure rise. When a white girl sees a cop behind her, she doesn't think of anything. It's just a cop. Now she feels safe. Me personally, I don't feel safe when there are police officers around. Now,
I don't feel like I'm in danger, or at least not most of the time. But when there are cops around, I don't have that sense of security. Like, hey, if she pops off, the cops are out. No, man. It's every for himself as far as the cops go. And I'll give you a perfect example of white females not having no idea about quote unquote the struggle and about, see, black men, black people, we live in a different America than white people. Listen, man, I'm not getting into the whole racial thing. I'm not mad at white people. I'm not doing all of that, right? Not talking about white devils and this. No. But African American men live in a different America than white females, obviously. And I'll give you an example. When I first started dating Devin, okay, we didn't always live together. When I used to go to her place, there was this light right outside her place that says, "Don't make a right on red." And the first time I pulled up to it, I'm driving her car. She's like, "I just blow through it. I do all the time." I looked at her, or passenger. I looked at her. I was like, "What the f- are you talking about?" "Yeah, just blow through it. I do it all the time." I said, "Sweetheart, you're a white woman. I'm a black man. Cops let you get away with more than I do." Then she goes on and on about, "Oh, you know, the cops here in this city are totally cool." Da da da. I'm like, "Did you not hear what I just said? You're a white woman. I'm a black man. Like, cops don't give a fuck. Listen, you think cops are great because you're a white girl. I don't think Devin's ever been arrested. She may have had one ticket in her life, right? She's never had that kind of incident. She just doesn't understand." Here's another example. We were watching Live PD, and I talked about this way back in episode 13. We're watching Live PD. It's a show on A&E, and there was this white girl who got pulled over. Okay, and the reason why they pulled her over is because they saw that she quickly switched lanes. And that is when somebody recognizes preemptive traffic stop behavior. If they see a cop in the rear view and they use evasive techniques in terms of getting away from the cops so he can't read her plates, that sends the cop's mind into overtime. Okay, why are they swerving away? Maybe there's warrants. So he pulls her over. This chick's license was suspended. She had a warrant out for her arrest. She had a warrant out for her arrest, and she had 2 kinds of drugs on her: cocaine and crystal meth. I'm gonna say it again: outstanding warrant, driving while license revoked, okay, and 2 kinds of drugs. The cop let her walk. Devin saw that, and she was utterly shocked. She had no idea. Finally, I said, "Do you see what I'm talking about?" All she could do was just sit there and shake her head, right? She just sat there and shook her. I said, "Look, I'm not making this up." I'll give you another example. We were actually watching Live PD the other day. This is unbelievable. They pulled this dude over. They pulled a black man over because he made a right-hand turn but didn't stay in the right lane. So he made a right-hand turn and then switched lanes into the left lane. I didn't know.
So if you're feeling really beautiful today and you want to make this video your phone's wallpaper, all you gotta do is upload the video to TikTok.
Know that was a right-hand turn and then switch lanes into the left lane. I didn't know that was illegal in Ohio. That's why they pulled this guy over. Turned out that this guy had a warrant out for his arrest for not paying child support. Doesn't matter, they wouldn't have found that out had they not pulled him over for no reason. Then there was a case where a white woman was in her car, all drugged the up. Someone saw her driving and swerving. She managed to park in a parking lot. This bitch was high as a kite. And in the end, the cop said, "You know what? I'm just going to let this woman sleep it off so that she can enjoy the rest of her day." There you go, man. It's because of things like this. Because of things like this, white women will never understand about the struggle. The second thing you need to understand is they don't really give a struggle. Nor should they. I did an article expecting white people to care about the plight of black people. Gentlemen, we are all selfish by nature. This is how it is. This is always the way it's going to be. When we see, commercials about, the starving kids in Africa, our heart goes out to them, and we might even pick up the phone and pledge a couple of bucks a month to help them out. But as soon as we hang up that phone, gentlemen, we're not thinking about that anymore because we're inherently selfish. The fact that your white girlfriend could not give two about your struggle as a black man, that's not on her, but you have to understand she doesn't care. Now, she cares about you, right? If you get harassed by the cops, if you're racially profiled, she's going to raise holy hell because that's you, right? But she doesn't give a about the plight of black people, guys. They really don't care. Listen, kudos to her for trying to act like she really cares, but she doesn't. It's almost like the female sports fan. You get with a girl, "I'm an Eagles fan." thankfully for me, I don't know how this happened. Devin happens to be a Philadelphia Eagles fan, and she really is an Eagles fan. Like, she has an old school Brian Westbrook jersey and everything, so I knew she was genuine. But we've all met that girl who tries to be a sports fan, but you can tell she's not really a sports fan because she doesn't really give about sports. It's the same thing there. Here's another thing. Your white girlfriend, she thinks that you are the exception to every stereotype out there. See, again, this is the hive mind of females. In her mind, she wants to rationalize, okay, I made a good decision. He's a black man, and I know I'm going to catch some heat, but he's not the typical black guy. He's not a... It's not any other. Listen, man, I have a podcast that I'm well-spoken and this and that and the other, but make no mistake about the fact, gentlemen, like, don't let the light skin and the strong command of the English language fool you. I embody a lot of the negative stereotypes of black men. Yes, I have been arrested several times. Yes, I've spent time in jail. Yes, I have a criminal record. Yes, I have a violent temper. This is how it is. I am not special, okay? I am not he's a black man, but no, nothing special about me. Your white girlfriend will rationalize in her mind that you are the exception to every stereotype. Now, this doesn't mean that I'm the stereotypical black man. Obviously, I'm not a hood, I'm not an Uncle Tom or anything like that, but for me to sit here and say that I am the exception to every rule out there, nah, man. Nope. Now, your girlfriend is going to think this, but you're going to have to be honest with her. You are not special. Here's another thing, and this is very dangerous. Number 4, white girls think their white privilege extends to you, right? If you get, the most dangerous weapon a black man can have in his car when he gets pulled over by a white cop is a white girl. Because white girls don't respect the cops, right? So, license and registration police, dude, your white girlfriend is gonna be like, what the are you pulling him over for? He has his rights, blah, 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 blah. She thinks that because she's white and in the car with you, that the cop is then going to extend her white privilege to you. Obviously, as a black man, we know that it certainly does not work that way. But you have to understand, you're going to have to explain this to your girlfriend. Hey, listen, your white privilege doesn't extend to me, right? You're trying to get me shot. You want to get me shot? Well, they're not going to shoot you. I'm white. No, sweetie. They'll cap out of me. They're not going to cap you. They're going to cap me. Shut the sit there and let me handle my business. White girls always think that their white privilege extends to you. They think that they think that when they walk down the street with you, that they're not going to catch, the eyes of white people. They think that they're no. White girls always think that their white privilege extends to you. It's never true. A couple of final thoughts here that you're really, really going to have to sort of understand about white women is they never think things are ever good enough, okay? And this actually blends with the last one. White girls always find something to complain about. Gentlemen, listen, I love Devin to death. She's a good woman, she's good to me, etc., etc. But she complains about everything. She complains about the wait staff. I remember when we first got together, she told me, well, people treat me poorly in the service industry. When I was out buying furniture, it took them 15 minutes to get with me. I don't get served well in restaurants. And I'm thinking to myself, damn, like, is there something about her? Like, what's going on? Well, now I've known her now for 3 years. And it is obvious to me that it's not the problem of the service industry. This is a Devin problem. This is a white girl problem. Devin's a spoiled brat, guys. Dude, if we sit down at a restaurant and our waiter or waitress isn't there within 30 seconds, she starts to look around, right? Where are our drinks? Where are our appetizers, right? This is too cold. This is too hot. Devin, if you're listening, I love you, but you're a complainer, and I call Devin a food snob all the time. Dude, maybe I'm exaggerating and maybe I'm embellishing here for effect, but most of the time there's always something about her food that she has to complain about. Dude, I'm telling you right now, white girls always find something to complain about. So to review, the 6 things that black men need to understand about white women before getting into relationships with said white women. Number 1, they are naive about the struggle. They don't know what it's like to be pulled over by a cop. They think cops treat everyone the same. Not true. Number 2, they don't really give a The struggle doesn't make them bad people, but they don't care no matter how much they pretend to care. Number 3, they think that you are the exception to every negative black male stereotype. Number 4, and this is dangerous, they think their white privilege extends to you. Obviously it does not. Number 5, they never think things are ever good enough. Why? White girls live great lives. They live lives of privilege. And if something is just a little bit off, they feel like they have to complain, which is number 6.
Well, that's interesting from Donovan back then, a couple of years ago. But I can see how that happened. How being a black man, I've dated white women too, and the ones I've met never really went too far at night, and never had an incident with them in the car or whatever. But yeah, but I wanted to spread light on this, and I hope a lot of people didn't get offended with the first video. I know that all relationships it's not like that now, where white women dominate, white men dominate, whatever. It's just that was giving you history, so it gives you an idea how some black people know the history of that. So that's why they oppose the interracial relationship from the first video. Just gonna be honest with you. It was interesting on the second video. Wow. But I try to be fair and balanced with my videos. But yeah, with the last video, that's true. There are some white women that are naive when it comes to interracial relationships with black men. That will always be the ultimate taboo. As long as you in America and probably certain parts of other places, it will always be. Even though black men can be built right, entertaining, and everything else, but it's the reality, and that it does. Especially we have the first video when they used to down in the South. That's what they would do. They would chop off a man's genitals. White men get very intimidated about that. They were white men from generation after generation, so that's why they didn't want. They would castrate men here because they were very insecure when it comes to black men. Look at, even if you see to this day, I remember I've told stories about this, man. It's like you just being friends with an attractive white woman. Seriously, you men, I'm telling you, white men will get. Some white men get mad, man. They get jealousy. They get kind of like, and so yes, so you can imagine being a police officer over when you're a black man, because what it is, guys, is that when a white male see a white female, he thinks of his daughter, he thinks of his wife, he thinks of someone in his family. So it's kind of like, and so the stereotype is on TV. So black people already being stereotyped. When a black guy does something, when some black guy does something wrong, do something that makes the news, and it's all over. They, like I said, they see it in their mind, they see it with their eyes, and so that's the reality of race in America. But I showed you a video why people consider it taboo. Some black people look at relationships like that. It might be some white people that look at it because they know the history. But that's the kind of history they don't want you to tell you about. And white males did black females the same way. I think I did a video on that one. So it's vice versa. So it ain't one didn't get around with the other. But you see why. And then that one video is like, why? Because there are some people, they think that some black people are not smart genetically, and then I think when they see the slave movies, some slave movies, I think it triggered something to think that they really have a superior complex, because you see that, okay, they come from generations of not having income, the education, the way they express, the way they slur. So it was a myth that their mindset, black people's mindset, is not intelligent enough. That's why they feel, and it's like it does. And you see the past repeats itself. Why y'all keep talking about the past? Because you see the past repeats itself. It transforms. You see it on your job. You see your education. They tell you how to wear your hair in school. And it was a case like that with a kid. That's suspended. Get on the job. They're gonna oversee you like I don't know what. Get stopped by the police. They go oversee you no matter what. So the black and white situation goes all the way back. And so for some black people, where they feel is like, I don't want to be bothered with them, period. Some black people don't even want to associate with white people, because what you see in the history, that's the truth. That's the truth. And it's like some white people feel the same opposite about black people. I mean, that's just what it is, because the way it's a spirit, guys, that goes back generation after generation. That it's a taboo between the two groups in this country, with black and white, between black and white. Even though they served and fought, play sports around together, but it is always that stigma. You can look at it, service, they were two separate armies. Black people couldn't, even when they entertained, they couldn't entertain. They couldn't sleep in the same hotel parts of this country. They couldn't even. That's how it is. It took laws to change it. That's how much it is. So some black people have forgot about that, and it's like, even though we don't have that now, but it's like the racism is still transforming. So when it comes to the interaction, and it don't mean all black people, all white people see this, because to some interracial couples, this probably not even apply to. But to the interracial couples that be watching this video, now you see what it came from, why some black people feel the way they do, and some white people probably think the way they do, because they saw the history. And so, and like with Donovan, he had to bring out the last point. So that's what this was about. And I hope no one to get offended, but to understand or to see why this topic keep bringing up about the interracial. Now you see the interracial thing. What's the big deal? Love, yeah. Some people see love as love, but the opposition sees like this. It's not just white people, but black people too, because black people are reacting on what was done to them. White people see it because what was told to them. So that's why it was a separation between black and white. And yes, I know it was dumb, even though black people and white people play sports together, go to concerts together and everything. But when it comes to that interaction, I mean, we're family, but we're not blood family in most cases. In some cases, there are some black people and white people can interconnected family. But you know the Thomas Jefferson story, right? Yeah. With Sally Hemings, his servant. And then you have some individuals that Bill Clinton, Senator McCain, had relationships with a black woman and produced a child. Yeah. But it's technically, I still think it's taboo. And to make a certain percentage of people who are white, and like a certain percent in black, on both sides, they worry because the genetics is going to go out. their bloodline's gonna go out. They won't look like something that's going to go from generation to generation. When it's like, for example, when it comes to white people, they still see their children. Now, no matter what, their grandchildren still look their great-great-grandchildren. They say their great-great-grandchildren, and they can see some symbolism. No matter if it's a boy or girl, you see the nature in their makeup outside and inside too. But if you mix it with another race of people as Negroes, which is an opposing hair texture mixture, opposing that, it psychologically it bothers some people, because when they think about the Negro and the dark hued people, they think about what? The big continent of Africa. Then they think about the people out in the rural area of Africa with the animals. This is the truth. We know what, and some of us know what they come. Like some Europeans come from the caves a year before they established a civilization. That's a whole. But I didn't want to go in that. Let's not go in that direction. But this is where the prejudice came in. This is the reason why both of them don't want to see that. Don't want to see race, because even though it could be different white people that have that necessarily didn't really get along, nobody is not going to know unless the people themselves. For example, if somebody is Italian and Irish or Polish or Greek and Yugoslav or Hungarian, you would never know, because unless someone reveal it, unless they have a certain name, you would never know that among white people. But if you put a black person or some person with melanin and indigenous in among the white people, and they like family, intertwined with the family, some people that it bothers, and predominantly in this country, in certain parts of the United States, and particularly in some areas in the most dominated white communities. They don't say nothing to you. Some people it don't bother, but the ones that really do, because they say, why are you getting with the people that is on a lower totem pole as far as social status? And you say, James, there's black people on silver status. I know that there are black people, but it's the image they see. They see black people majority of the time committing crimes, low education, whatever. They feel like the IQ's not whatever. So it's like, why did my daughter want to get with this low IQ person of this race? That's why the prejudice. And with the black people, you respond to like, why you getting with these people? Don't you understand? Look, you see what they done to it? That's why I had to show the whole thing. Is it really? And so he had to tell you that they don't quite understand this. When a black man gets pulled over, that's true. You're nervous, because it's the history that goes way back to the past, when the first police patrol was in the United States is to go catch slaves. It's telling you. That's why I said the past repeats itself. And then you see the historical in over the 19th, 20th century with police officers in different communities. So that's why Donovan said that. And some white people never did the research and understood that this is what comes out. And sometimes, even with people that I know who was white, I never bring this conversation up because they couldn't begin to understand. One of the persons seen was in my video, because it's like we never had that talk, because he comes from an environment, I know they're from the suburbs, and they never had too many interaction with black people. I know that. So I don't really go there with it. I don't even bring up the topic, because them type of people, and they live, they used to see a majority of people that look like them. So the only thing they see is everything on the blue screen and Bluetooth. They never been around people that look like us. But we've been around people that look some of us been look like them. And some have been good and most of it has been a positive experience. Well, that's why they can't connect, because like I don't understand, because they don't understand the different transformation of racist things that people do. How they can, like for example, when we live in the same apartment building, the one guy Bob, he didn't understand how they was doing certain people. He said, "Well, I didn't have no problem, He don't understand that. And if I showed you where he lived at, you would understand what I'm talking about. Some people in predominantly white suburbs don't understand. Don't expect them to understand that, because that's not their. And like that's true. They don't understand. Man, it's not that they don't care. It's just that they don't live it. They don't see it unless someone use the N-word in front of them or something like that. Then they say, "Whoa, I didn't know that this person was like that." Yeah, because you all look alike out there. So people naturally gonna say something what they wouldn't have to say to another person who was a different race in front of them, who are the opposing people who are the race in front of them. They racist in front of you, and they can do sarcastic jokes, whatever. They'll do a stereotype. They'll put on blackface. They'll do make buckwheat jokes, whatever, watermelon jokes, gorilla jokes. But he's like, "Oh, that's so, man, you're just so silly, stupid." They say, "Okay, you think that was him? I'm gonna take it to the next level." Next thing you know, they might come put it on the Klan costume. Look. See, to understand the people, you gotta go among and understand what is it really about. You gotta go behind the doors to understand where they come from. That's how I can tell you these things from personal experience. But like I said, to some interracial couples, this might not apply to you. But there are some people around you that don't like it, and they kind of swig at it. They can put on the face. They can put on the face, bro. Says, "I'm telling you, you don't know." They could be smiling, phony, anything. But I bet you their daughter and son come home with a little black boy, black girl. Hoo-wee! No. No. Mm-mm. Why? We know the Jones. That's them. This ain't our house. Trust me. But it's just something. It's enlightening. But I had to show you the past to understand where it come from. The prejudice and the racist part of it. Why is such a big? Well, why is it generation? Because it's a spirit. Racism is a spirit. This was part of history. It's part of our history that nobody want to talk about. People want to put it in the closet. Nobody want to talk about it in church. Nobody want to talk about this. But sometimes social media brings it out to open up people's eyes. And like I said, if it don't fly to you, don't bother you, you're not that kind of person, and you got friends and y'all don't see life that way, that's beautiful. But there's some people around you want somebody around you or associate affiliate with somebody in your family, among your family, and this is sometime with white people. They don't directly not gonna be racist to you with your black friend or your black spouse in there. They're gonna do it subtly. They're gonna do it in code. To my black people, you know, you need to know about this too. But all right, then, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this enlighten you. Share, like, and subscribe. But hopefully, this gives you an eyesight. But this is the reason why we are divided. This is why between black and white, and as far as the intimate relationship with family, marriage, that's the reason why it started in the beginning. So that's why some black people don't want their children with white people, and why some white people don't want their children with black people. Because it's genetics. Well, genetics is quite with both sides, but but it's just you hear it sound. What that child gonna do? What you gonna explain it to him? Even though we are all part of the human race, but to some people, color doesn't matter. Remember, at the end of the day, to some people, it means that they see it in their mind and they perceive it with their eyes. And sooner or later, it's gonna come out in some form or fashion. Remember, this guy told you this. Because you're not gonna see it directly at first. It transforms itself. So remember what I'm telling you. Think back. Some of you might blow this out. Some of you might think this guy crazy nuts. No. You'll see. And like I said, if you're around people who are not like, if you are a interracial couple, this might not apply to you. It's good that you got people around you not like that. But you got some people that kind of like pull distance themselves away from them. You know why? And this is what is probably being said. And hopefully you stop it and check it. Stop it. And somebody black saying it, you do it on their side too. When it comes to black people, we say, hey, stop it. Don't go there with that stuff. All right, you take it easy. Be blessed. Till next time, see you on the next video. And like and subscribe. Share the video. And open some door eyes up about a history that you don't know about. Till next time, take care. Be blessed.